You know, I finished the last video that I uploaded on this channel with the words that I hope that the next video I make isn't about something as dire as the recent crew shutdown. Well, here we are again. Ubisoft just keeps finding ways to piss me the f*** off. So now we're here again talking about this stuff. So to just bring everyone up to speed who may have not seen the first video or who may just need a quick refresher. Basically, the gist is that Ubisoft has completely erased the crew from existence, pretty much. Now, this is different to your usual game delistings that happen pretty much all the time, especially to racing games when particular licenses run out. It's not that you can't just buy the game anymore, you can't even play it. So if you bought a game prior and it gets delisted, for the most part, you can still play the game, you can play through the story, you can enjoy the single player content, even if the multiplayer has been shut down. Now, since The Crew 1 was a online-only title, that also means that since the connection to the server can't be established, you can't even get into the game anymore. You won't get past the title screen. Which is nuts, considering you paid for this game, we paid for this game, and now we can't even use it anymore. But now, Ubisoft actually allowed themselves to go another step further. And it's not enough that you can't just buy the game anymore. It's not enough that you can't play the game anymore. Now you can't even download the files anymore. So if you owned The Crew on, let's say for example, Uplay in my case, so on PC, before you could still at least download the game files and keep them on your PC. Which you can't do anymore. If you go and look for your copy of The Crew in your Uplay library, there is no install button. The only thing you get is a small little text that says, hey, this game is now gone. How about you go check out the store for exciting new adventures? How tone deaf can you be, Ubisoft? Like, I don't, like... This reads like a South Park bit, and I wish I would be joking. I wish this was hyperbole and I was just over-exaggerating, but I am not kidding. This reads like a South Park bit. Company takes your purchase away and it's like,
sorry. We're sorry. I'm deeply sorry.
Hey, by the way, how about you buy something new? It's ridiculous, man. Jesus Christ. Now, a lot of people compared this to Driver San Francisco, which also got removed from storefronts. And I just want to reiterate once again that this is way worse, because if you bought the Driver San Francisco, or hell, even if you decide to get a used copy from somewhere, whether it be for console or PC, you can still run it and you can play through the game. If you try to buy a used copy of The Crew from like the eBay or any other marketplace, you're basically wasting your money. You're not actually buying anything that's playable. It's like buying a disc that's completely scratched up. It's a paperweight. It's useless. Now, one argument that is also constantly brought up is that, well, it said so in the EULA, which is like this thing you have to constantly agree to whenever you like run or install a game. And people are like, well, it says in the EULA that you only own a license to the game. So, since you agree to it, you have to just be happy with it. I don't think that's how it works. Let me just make one thing very clear. These EULAs don't fly in court. At least not always. So, assuming that this kind of The Crew thing blows up enough that there's actual courts that look at this stuff, they don't give a crap about what the EULA says. Because here's the thing, you can't just sign off basic consumer rights, basic human rights, if you will, with a simple EULA document. That's just not how it works. Like, let's, for example, assume that I kill a person, okay? But I made that person that I killed sign a 100-page document that they had to sign for every single page, that they are absolutely okay with me killing them. You know what happens? I just go to jail. No matter how many documents that person has signed, and no matter how well these documents were written, it doesn't matter. Because you can't just kill a person. And so I will rightfully still go to jail for it. And it's literally no different with these EULAs, that you can't just You can't just write off your basic consumer rights like that. And what's especially funny is that whenever these EULAs come up and you're meant to agree to them, it's usually that you can only read and sign these after you have bought the game. It's usually when you first run the game, there's like a text prompt in the game that is like, hey, we need you to agree to all of this to let you into the game. Or sometimes you also get it when you install a game. But matter of fact is you do it after the purchase. What the hell is the point of the EULA if I have already bought the game? I haven't agreed to anything yet, but the money is already gone. Like, you can literally go into a store, put the game on the shelf, put money on the shelf, and then leave without the money and the game in your hand, not knowing a single thing about this EULA. Like, this entire thing makes no sense, no matter what angle you try to look at it. And if you think that this is just a problem with digital games, it's not, because it's something that people also constantly like to bring up, that this is just what you get when you buy digital because you're only buying licenses. Let me remind you that this also affects physical copies. It doesn't matter if you bought the game digitally or if you have an actual disc at home, neither of which is playable. Like, this entire you only buy licenses because you bought digital doesn't make any sense for the crew, because once again, that game was always online. And so you leave the shop when you buy the game, when you buy a physical copy at like a GameStop or whatever, and you have signed nothing of that sort. Nowhere was this ever agreed upon that this is just a license. You have the files on the disc. And I would really wish that people would just stop trying to take this intellectual high ground so they can feel better and smarter about themselves and actually just sign these goddamn petitions or contacting local authorities or do literally anything that you can do on stopkillinggames.com, which is the website that I talked about in the last video already. But this begs the question, why would Ubisoft even do this, right? They already made the game unplayable, inaccessible. So why do they now make it so that you can't download your files anymore? And the answer to that is very, very simple. It's that they want to prevent people making an offline patch. At least that's the only thing that makes sense in my head. Because think about it. The less people that have access to the game files, the less people can actually work on such an offline patch and get involved into the development process of something like that. So it's just gonna, at the very least, it's gonna massively delay the process on such a thing. And at worst, it makes it so that if such a patch exists, or even if community servers exists, there's less people that can actually take advantage of that. Because then they're gonna have to either pirate the game or go f themselves, I guess. The reason why Ubisoft doesn't want you to download the files is to prevent the possibility that you might, at some point in the future, still access the game instead of playing their new games. And let me tell you, Ubisoft is especially scared of the community, because once they got control of the game and have access to it again, they're gonna go ham with it. You know, we're gonna start seeing mods, we're gonna start seeing community-run servers, we're gonna see people removing the pay-to-win aspects from the game. We might actually see a beat-for-beat repetition of Need for Speed World, which I think, in everyone's opinion, is now infinitely better that the community has taken control of the game and actually turned Need for Speed World into turned it into something like actually amazing and super enjoyable. And Ubisoft is scared of that. Ubisoft is scared of the community making the crew game that's better than their modern stuff. But I think none of this actually matters, because with this move now, with Ubisoft basically preventing people to download the files that they paid for, they ultimately dug themselves an even deeper hole in court. Because now there is no way that Ubisoft can argue that, well, technically, buyers still can download the files, right? You have nothing now. You have literally nothing left. There's absolutely no argument that Ubisoft can still make in court that would land, even to the most tech-illiterate people in court. Furthermore, this case also shows that piracy can't save everything, right? People always like to say, oh yeah, this is why I pirate. A pirated copy of The Crew is just as worthless as any other copy, because it is once again an online-only game. Piracy doesn't fix all issues. Laws do. And games need to be protected from this sort of crap. Now I'm gonna end this fairly brief update with something that I probably should have already said in my last video. And it's that if you can, and if you want to, consider boycotting Ubisoft. Because that is exactly what I am going to do. I will never buy a Ubisoft game ever again, unless any of this changes in the near future. But I will also not stream or make any videos on any other Ubisoft games, which I find particularly upsetting because I love Driver San Francisco and I would have loved to do some content on the Watch Dogs games. But this kind of stuff is so disgusting that I just do not want to give Ubisoft a platform anymore. I don't want to make content on a Ubisoft game and then have someone be like, hey, I should check out what other games Ubisoft has made, and then eventually buy something. I don't want to have that effect on people because I don't think Ubisoft deserves any more buyers. I don't think they deserve any more money, and I don't think they should be given any more money. So even though there is a few games that I like from Ubisoft, I'm just gonna stop covering their crap. Which really hurts because once again, I would have loved to make some content on the Watch Dogs games. I might still, in private, if I feel like I want to, get a trip down memory lane, at most, I will maybe play the Rayman games that are still in my library. That is, if Ubisoft doesn't take them away from me too. And besides, it's not like this entire The Crew thing is the only problem that Ubisoft has. Ubisoft has had a really long and really terrible history of an absolutely god-awful working environment with a long history of sexual assault in particular. Most of their games over the last, I want to say at least 5 years, have been underbaked and underdeveloped and vastly overpriced. And even in spite that, most of the games also feature microtransactions and like absurd DLC policies. Honestly, I could keep going here because the list just goes on. But I feel like I've already said enough. And if you want to, consider boycotting Ubisoft with me. Because that's honestly what I want to do next. And this will seriously be the last video on this entire The Crew drama crap be now. Because I'm really tired of talking about it. And I think the only thing that we can still hope for at this point is that actual authorities look at this crap and start investigating this. Because me talking about this here makes no difference at this point anymore. I've done what I can. I've raised awareness, and it's awesome to see that a lot of you guys not necessarily agree with me. You're free to disagree with some of my points, of course, but you can at least see that this is like insanely harmful for gaming, and that, some of you guys also do something about it. So with all that finally being said, let me just say one more thing. Fuck Ubisoft. Until next time.